My wife cheated with her boss, then stole $250, $0 from our joint account before filing for divorce, claiming she needs the money for her future. Now we're in a bitter legal battle over our house and assets, and I just found out she's been planning to run off with my inheritance too. I never thought I'd be sitting here, writing this kind of story, but life has a way of throwing the worst surprises when you least expect it. It started with little things, her being more distant, staying late at work, excuses about stress, and that damn phone constantly glued to her hand. Honestly, I ignored most of it at first. I figured maybe she was just busy or maybe I was overthinking. But then one day I found out the truth that shattered everything I believed about her and about us. Her name. She's always been the kind of woman who could turn heads, beautiful, sharp-tongued, and a master at hiding what she really thought. When we first got married, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. We had a good life, decent jobs, a big house, and enough savings to feel secure. But the cracks started showing after about 2 years. She became more critical, more bitchy, snapping at me over nothing. She'd say I was too boring, too predictable, and that I needed to loosen up. I tried to give her space, tried to be understanding, but I guess I was blind to what she was really up to. The first real sign was her phone. She'd hide it whenever I entered the room, and I caught her deleting messages more than once. I brushed it off, told myself she was just being paranoid. But then I started noticing money going missing from our joint account. Small amounts at first, $200 here, $500 there. I asked her about it and she'd laugh it off, call me paranoid, say I was imagining things. She told me she was just making some investments, saving for the future, but I had an odd feeling that wasn't the truth. I even looked at our bank statements, but nothing stood out enough to cause alarm. Still, I knew something wasn't right. Then came the night I found out for sure. I was late coming home from a business trip, and I decided to check our bank account one last time. I saw a withdrawal of $250, $0. My stomach sank. That's a huge chunk of money, more than I'd ever seen in that account at once. I immediately tried to call, but she didn't answer. When I finally got her on the phone, she sounded nervous, defensive even. She told me she was taking care of her future, that she needed the money for some business opportunity she'd been talking about. I asked her what kind of business needed that much cash, and she just said, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." That was the last straw. I didn't believe her. I started digging into her affairs, her phone, her emails, anything I could find. That's when I stumbled across the messages, her talking to her boss, Mark. The texts weren't just professional, they were flirty, sometimes downright explicit. She was cheating on me with her boss, no doubt about it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? After everything, how could she betray me like that? The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was having sex with her boss, stealing our money and planning her escape. I confronted her the very next day. I showed her the texts, the bank statement with that huge withdrawal. Her face turned white as a sheet and she started lying right away. Said it was all a mistake, that Mark was just helping her with some business deal, and that I was overreacting. She told me she was doing what she had to do for her future, that I was just being paranoid and controlling. But I saw the guilt in her eyes and I knew she was lying. The woman I married was a liar, a cheat, and a thief. And I was left to pick up the pieces of what used to be my life. After that confrontation, everything changed. I felt numb, like I'd been hit by a freight train. The woman I once loved, the woman I shared my life with, was now a stranger. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept replaying the moments, the flirtatious texts, the stolen money, her cold lies. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see it coming. But deep down, I guess I'd been blind, trusting blindly because I didn't want to believe she could do this. To me, the worst part was the betrayal, not just the affair but the theft. She took $250, $0 from our joint account, money we'd worked hard for, money we'd planned to use for our future. She claimed she needed it for her future, but I knew better. I knew she'd been planning her escape for a while. I found her packing a bag late one night, trying to hide her plans from me. She was sneaky, manipulative, and utterly cold. Her bitchy attitude only intensified when I questioned her about her plans, snapping at me like I was the villain. I decided I had to do something. I couldn't just sit back and let her run off with everything. Our house, our savings, my inheritance. I started making arrangements, contacting lawyers and digging into her financials. I wanted to know exactly how much she'd taken, what she was up to, and how I could stop her from taking everything. Meanwhile, she kept lying, spinning stories about how she was doing this for her future, how I was just jealous and insecure. She accused me of being controlling, even as she was sneaking around behind my back. It was infuriating. One day, I discovered she had been secretly planning to run off with my inheritance too. My father left me a sizable estate, and I'd always told it was for my retirement, my kids, whatever. Turns out, she'd been talking about how she'd need a big chunk of that inheritance once I was out of the picture. She'd even been contacting lawyers behind my back, trying to figure out how to claim it. That was the last straw. I realized I was dealing with a woman who had no loyalty, no morals, just greed and betrayal. The anger started to boil inside me. I couldn't believe I'd trusted her all these years. I started documenting everything: text messages, bank statements, her packing and sneaking around. I also hired a private investigator, just to be sure I had all the facts straight. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that she was planning her escape, and she'd already crossed lines I never thought she would. The betrayal was so deep I felt like I was drowning in it. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, and every time I looked at her, I saw the woman who had lied to me, cheated on me and stolen from me. It was a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Now I find myself in a legal battle over the house and assets. She's filed for divorce, claiming she needs the money for her future, but I know that's just an excuse. She's trying to take everything she can, including my inheritance, and leave me with nothing. I've never been so betrayed in my life. The pain, the anger, the sense of loss, it's overwhelming. I keep asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I didn't see the signs sooner. But you can't predict someone's true nature until they show it, and showed me her true colors when she betrayed everything we built together. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just know that I won't let her walk away with everything, not without a fight. I'm determined to get justice, to keep what's mine, and to move on from this nightmare. But I also wonder, how do you rebuild after something like this? How do you trust again? The betrayal runs so deep, I don't even recognize the woman I married anymore. And as I sit here going through all these documents, I realize one thing for sure: I'll never let her get away with it, not without consequences. The legal process has been a nightmare. Every day feels like a new battle, and I'm constantly on edge, trying to protect what's left of my life. This lawyer is aggressive, trying to spin everything in her favor, claiming she's the victim and that her actions were justified because she needed a fresh start. Yeah, right. She's painting herself as some misunderstood woman who was forced to steal and cheat because I supposedly wasn't supportive enough. It's infuriating how she can lie so easily, spinning stories that make her look like the victim while I'm left to pick up the shattered pieces of our life. From the start, I knew I had to be strategic. I gathered every piece of evidence I could: bank statements, her texts with Mark, her packing plans, and even recordings of her talking about her plans to leave with my inheritance. I hired a forensic accountant to trace the stolen money, and it turns out she transferred a good chunk of it into offshore accounts. That's when I realized she wasn't just planning to run away, she was trying to hide and launder the money. The thought that she might actually get away with it all makes my blood boil. I've never felt so betrayed in my life. Meanwhile, is still insisting she's innocent, claiming she's doing what's best for herself, and that I'm just jealous and controlling. She throws tantrums in court, demanding the house and my inheritance and trying to turn the judge against me. She's bitchy, manipulative, and relentless. She acts as if she's the victim in all this, but I see through her lies. I know her game. She's trying to ruin me, to take everything I've worked for and then disappear. The worst part is knowing she's probably already planning her escape. She's been talking about moving to some city far away where she can start fresh with Mark and the money she stole. I've been feeling so many things: anger, sadness, frustration, and a deep sense of betrayal. I trusted her with everything, and she threw it all away for some affair and greed. Sometimes I wonder how I got here, how I let someone so bitchy and manipulative into my life. But mostly, I feel betrayed, like I was a fool for trusting her at all. The pain is constant, but I also feel a strange sense of resolve. I won't let her take everything. I've been fighting hard in court, pushing for a fair division of assets and trying to prevent her from claiming my inheritance. I even hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her, just to make sure she's not planning some sneaky escape. The hardest part is the emotional toll. Every time I see her, I'm reminded of how much I loved her, how much I believed in us. And now it's all gone. The woman I thought I knew turned out to be someone else entirely, greedy, manipulative, and willing to lie, cheat, and steal her way out of our life together. I don't recognize her anymore, and I don't know if I ever will. The betrayal cuts so deep that I sometimes wonder if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. But I'm holding on. I've come too far to give up now. I've made up my mind to fight for what's rightfully mine, our house, our savings, and most importantly, my inheritance. I've learned a hard lesson about trust, about how appearances can be deceiving and how dangerous it is to ignore the warning signs. If there's one thing I want others to take away from this, it's that you can't assume someone's loyalty just because they're close to you. People hide their true selves well, sometimes even better than you think. And when they betray you like this, it's not just about money or property. It's about your sense of security and your peace of mind. I'm still trying to process everything, but I know one thing. I won't let her win. Not without a fight. The court hearings have been relentless. Every day I sit there listening to her lawyer spin stories, trying to convince the judge that is the innocent victim here, that I'm just some controlling husband who's jealous of her success. It's exhausting. I've got stacks of evidence, texts, bank transfers, her own words, that paint a very different picture. But she's good at playing the victim. She acts hurt, betrayed, even crying sometimes, all the while knowing she's been planning her escape for months. One thing that's become crystal clear is her desperation to keep everything she's stolen. She's demanding the house, claiming she needs a place for her new life, and she's trying to argue that the money she took was a gift or that she earned it somehow. Her bitchy attitude really comes out during these hearings. She's dismissive, condescending, and often outright rude. She's convinced she can lie her way out of this, that her charm and her tears will sway the judge. But I know better. I've seen her true face, and I've got the evidence to back it up. Meanwhile, I've been pushing hard to freeze her assets and prevent her from claiming my inheritance. I hired a lawyer who specializes in financial crimes, and we've been working around the clock to block her access. The thing is, she's been sneaky, trying to transfer money offshore, hiding assets, even talking about how she'd disappear with everything if she had the chance. I even found out she's been in contact with a shady lawyer in another state, trying to set up a new life with Mark and the stolen money. That's when I realized she's not just after the house, she's planning a full-blown escape, leaving me with nothing. Her bitchy side really comes out when she's cornered. She's been snapping at her lawyer, refusing to answer questions directly, and throwing tantrums during court sessions. I can see the anger and desperation in her eyes, like she's willing to do anything to keep her grip on her newfound wealth. It makes me sick. How someone can lie, cheat, and steal their way into an even bigger mess, all for a shot at a new life with her boss. I've never hated anyone as much as I hate her right now. The emotional toll is heavy. I catch myself staring at her, feeling a mix of rage and heartbreak. How did I miss all the signs? How could I have been so blind to her manipulations? I loved her, I really did. And now I can't even recognize the woman sitting across from me in court. She's bitchy, entitled, and utterly ruthless. It's like she's already moved on, already planning her life with Mark and the stolen fortune. I keep telling myself I won't let her get away with it, but some days I wonder if I'm fighting a losing battle. I've had moments of doubt, of feeling overwhelmed, but then I remember what's at stake. I have to keep fighting. For me, for what's rightfully mine, and for the truth. I've learned that trust is a fragile thing, easily shattered by someone you once loved. I also learned that some people are just inherently selfish, willing to betray everything, your feelings, your trust, your future, for money and greed. That realization is bitter, but it's made me more determined to see this through. I want her to pay for what she's done, not just financially, but emotionally. I want her to understand that betrayal has consequences, and I won't be the one to lose everything without a fight. Every day, I remind myself that I'm stronger than her manipulations. I've built a life, and I'm not going to let her tear it apart just because she's bitchy, greedy, and willing to lie her way out of everything. The fight isn't over, and I know I have to stay sharp. I have to stay one step ahead of her lies and schemes. Because if I don't, I'll wake up one day with nothing left. No house, no inheritance, no trust. And the worst part is, I'd have nobody to blame but myself if I let her win. So I keep fighting, keep digging, and keep holding on to what's mine. I owe it to myself to see this through. The legal battle has intensified, and I've never felt more like I'm fighting for my life. Every morning I wake up with a knot in my stomach, knowing that is out there, scheming, lying, trying to manipulate her way into control of everything I worked for. She's relentless, sending nasty messages, trying to intimidate me into dropping the case, claiming she's the victim, and that I'm just jealous of her success. Her bitchy attitude is on full display, especially when she's losing in court, snapping at her lawyer, rolling her eyes, and throwing fits like a spoiled brat. It's honestly disgusting how someone can be so entitled and selfish. I've got to stay focused, though. I've been working closely with my lawyer, making sure every detail is airtight. We've uncovered more shady transfers, hidden accounts, offshore trusts. She's been trying to hide her tracks. She's desperate, I can tell. She's even resorted to trying to turn the judge against me, claiming I'm abusive or controlling. It's all lies. She's just trying to cover her tracks to buy herself more time. I know her game, and I refuse to let her win. What's worse is her constant bitching about how unfair everything is. She's trying to paint herself as a victim, but the truth is, she's the one who betrayed me first. She cheated, stole, and planned her escape behind my back. I found her packing again last week, trying to sneak out with some of the remaining money. I caught her red-handed. The look in her eyes, so cold, so calculating, made me realize she's beyond redemption. She's not the woman I married. She's a con artist, a thief, and a liar. And then there's the issue of my inheritance. I discovered she's been talking to lawyers in other states, trying to claim a portion of it once I'm out of the picture. I've had to put a stop to that. I've filed motions to freeze her access to those funds, and I've hired a financial investigator to track every penny she's tried to move. The more I uncover, the angrier I get. She's been planning her escape for months, talking about how she'd need a big chunk of my inheritance to start fresh. That's when I realized just how far she's willing to go to get what she wants. Her bitchy attitude only worsens under pressure. She's refused to accept the court's rulings, shouting and throwing tantrums during hearings. She's even accused me of trying to control her, which is laughable considering how controlling she's been with her lies and manipulations. She's trying to make herself look like the victim, but I see through her act. I know her game, and I won't let her manipulate her way out of this. I've been documenting everything, her threats, her lies, her sneaky plans, and I plan to use it all in court. Deep down, I'm exhausted. I feel drained, betrayed, and angry all at once. How could she do this? How could she betray everything we built just for greed? I keep asking myself if I could have seen it coming, if I missed the signs, but honestly, I don't think I could have. People like her hide their true selves well, so well that you only see the surface. And then, when it all crashes down, you realize they've been plotting their escape for months, maybe years. But I refuse to let her get away with it. I'm fighting for my house, my inheritance, and my dignity. I've learned the hard way that trust can be broken in a heartbeat, and that some people are just inherently selfish and manipulative. I've also learned that you have to be relentless when fighting for what's yours. I've got a lot of scars from this experience, but I'm determined not to let her win. I want justice, and I want her to pay for the pain she's caused. If there's one thing I can say for sure, it's that I won't be again. I'll rebuild my life piece by piece, and I'll make damn sure she doesn't walk away with everything she stole. I've got a long road ahead, but I know I'll come out the other side stronger. Because at the end of the day, no matter how bitchy or manipulative she's been, I still believe in doing what's right. And right now, that means fighting to keep what's mine and making sure she faces the consequences of her actions. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this ordeal has changed me. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to fight so hard just to keep what's rightfully mine, but here I am. I've learned that betrayal cuts deeper than any wound, and trust is a fragile thing that can shatter in an instant when someone you love turns out to be the biggest liar and thief you've ever known. Betrayal was not just about the money or the affair. It was about the complete erosion of the life I thought we had, the future I'd planned, and the trust I'd given her. The court case has finally reached its climax. I can't say I feel victorious, more like exhausted and relieved that the worst is hopefully behind me. Attempts to manipulate and lie her way through this have failed. The evidence I gathered was undeniable, and the judge saw right through her bitchy, entitled attitude. I managed to get a court order to freeze her assets, including her plans to claim part of my inheritance. The judge also ordered her to return the stolen money, which I'm told she's been trying to hide in offshore accounts. It's a small victory, but it feels like a huge relief. There's a strange sense of closure now. I've faced the worst betrayal of my life and survived it. I've learned that some people are just inherently selfish, greedy, manipulative, and willing to lie and cheat to get what they want. And the only way to protect yourself is to stay vigilant, document everything, and never let your guard down. Trust is a gift, but it's also something you have to give carefully. I've been burned badly, but I've also learned that resilience can come from the most unexpected places. As for, I hope she gets what she deserves. I hope she realizes that her actions have consequences, and I hope she finds whatever happiness she's chasing with Mark and the stolen money. Me. I'm going to rebuild my life slowly but surely. I've already started the process of moving past this nightmare, selling the house, dividing the assets, and making sure I have a fresh start. I know it won't be easy, but I'm determined to come out of this stronger, wiser, and more cautious. Looking back, I wish I could say I learned a lesson about trust, love, and betrayal that I'll never forget. But life has a way of teaching you the hard way. What I do know is this: never ignore the signs, never assume someone's loyalty is guaranteed, and always protect what's yours. Because when someone is bitchy, manipulative, and greedy, like was, they'll do whatever it takes to get what they want, even if it destroys everything you've built together. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, I'll say this: don't let the betrayal define you. Fight for your rights, hold on to your dignity, and remember that justice, even if delayed, can be achieved. Trust is fragile, but resilience is stronger. And in the end, I believe that honesty and integrity will always win out over lies and greed. I may have lost a lot, but I've gained clarity about what truly matters, standing up for myself and refusing to be a victim anymore. That's the real victory.